Four, three, two, you know the rest. Let's do it. Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the late edition of GarageBand Weekly. If you were tuning in earlier today, I apologise. We had some changes this week, but we are here, and especially for those in the UK and Europe, you're probably catching on the replay, but don't worry. We've got all of your GarageBand news still covered here, just a teensy little bit later. Hello to the folks who are here live. If you have questions, we will have a Q&A section towards the end of the show, around about the 30-minute mark, but we've got a bunch to get through before then. So we will jive and drive straight on into it and get started here. So welcome again. This is episode number 62 of GarageBand Weekly, the show where we talk all GarageBand all the time. And in the news and notes this week, I got to start by being a bit selfish here, and that is the very exciting news that just a week ago I launched my first ever GarageBand iOS course. It's my GarageBand iOS Beginner's Guide, and it's available right now. So if you haven't checked it out already and you are new to GarageBand, or maybe you're an intermediate user or even an advanced user that just wants a handy dandy reference guide, then check out the GarageBand users. So the GarageBand iOS Beginner's Guide, it's at studiolivetoday.com/courses, which is the link you see right there. And if you haven't checked it out, let's dive over and take a quick look at it. Just share my screen real quick. There you go. So if you jump over there, you can do this on your tablet or on your iPhone or on your Mac or your PC. And for just $10, you can pick it up. And there's no catches. You don't have to join any mailing list. It's not going to be a discounted price of $5 next week and $2 the week after. No. This is what I call the anti-course. So it's $10 now, and it will almost definitely be $10 in a week or a month or a year. Doesn't mean you need to hesitate and don't buy it because of that, but it just means that you don't have to sit back and go, oh, is this going to be a promotional thing? And will he then sell me his $47 course and his $497 mastermind? No, this is it. This is the course. And if you want to go and check it out, you can, and you'll be supporting me and the channel by doing so. Thank you to those who have already picked up the course. I do appreciate it. I'm getting lots of really good feedback from folks about some things that we can add, remove, change, enhance, and I'm feeding that right back to Retrieve, who are the company who I'm working with to put out the course. So thank you for all of that. There was one small issue, which was if you used a mobile device to try and pay it in the first couple of days, the PayPal link, it wouldn't open the pop-up. So in Safari or Chrome, it would just sit there spinning. Now that should be resolved, but if you're still having that problem, go into desktop mode. So if you go to Chrome or Safari, you're on the page, tap the little ellipsis there and go to desktop mode, and it will actually let you go through and get hold of the course. So hopefully, if you are in the market for the course or you want to check it out, just go and do so. And let's just say quick hello to everyone we have here live. Hello to Tom, to Bubba, to Russ, who's up late watching the show. We've got Kim here in the house, and we've got, who have I missed there? I think that's everyone. There you go. It's a quiet house because we are here a little bit later than we usually are. So I hope you're all doing well. Let's jump into the news and notes from the last week as they relate to GarageBand. So we were chatting with a group of folks, and I missed most of the conversation, but the topic of Logic on iOS and Logic on iPad, and will the iPad Pro have Logic on it in the future, keeps coming up, and no one really seems to have a really clear answer on this. And my view is becoming more and more this, and I know I was talking to Jade Starr, and her view is this, that the more things go on, and with the Mac M1 and with everything, we thought we'd be getting Mac apps over on iOS, but I don't see any movement towards that. What I see is some universal apps that are going to be the same across both. So for those that are holding their breath and waiting and going, yes, I'll get Logic, I'll get a full-featured Apple DAW on my iPad in the near future, the opinion of this person, my humble opinion, my experience, my opinion, is that we're not going to see it for a while, at least not for the next year or two, if at all. Now, again, I'll credit Jade with this. She had an idea which she was throwing around, which is that what's actually going to happen is that GarageBand itself will be improved and become more like GarageBand on Mac. The idea being that maybe in a version or two's time, instead of having GarageBand iOS and GarageBand Mac, we will have GarageBand, the whole entire thing, and they will both have similar sorts of features. It kind of makes sense because right now there's quite a lot of division. I'm very focused on GarageBand iOS, and that's what I've been using for 5 years. As I learn more about Mac, I'm learning some of the things it can do differently, but also that it can't do. So you can't merge tracks in GarageBand Mac. There's not a whole lot in the way of autoplay and obviously virtual instruments and that sort of thing. And on the flip side, GarageBand iOS, you don't have a lot in the way of master tracks or arrangement tracks or effect automation. There's a heap of things missing from there. Will they just go, you know what? Once we have the same chips running the same sort of code, why wouldn't we just have one version, one GarageBand to rule them all? I don't know. What do you think? What do you think of that? Yeah, there you go. And as Kim's saying here, I'd have to redo your whole channel, job security, right? If they did change GarageBand up big time, I would have a lot of work to do because let's be honest, in the 5 years I've been covering GarageBand from version 2.1 up to version 2.3.10, yeah, there's been some additions. Have there been wholesale changes and anything completely different? No, not really. So I'd be really interested to hear your views and your opinions on that. Mark's got a good point here, though. You can actually have all of your virtual instruments through Logic Remote, something I need to actually play around with a lot more because Logic Remote is not just for Logic. It's probably the most poorly named app in the Apple ecosystem for GarageBand because if you don't have Logic, you can still use Logic Remote on your mobile device to control GarageBand on your Mac. So keep that in mind as well. Tom's saying, I'm sure that's the plan down the road. Huska says, I asked if you could merge tracks in Mac a week or two ago. So yeah, to answer that question, no, you can't merge tracks in Mac. If you want to do the equivalent of merging, so if you're not familiar, merging in GarageBand iOS is where you take one or more tracks and then you merge them. You actually render them down to one individual stereo audio file. So the difference there is that in a Mac, there is no merge function. What you would have to do is go in, solo each of those channels, each track, and then render that out. Literally export a WAV file and then come back to your project, import that WAV file and delete out any tracks that compose that WAV file. Does that make sense? So yeah, there's no quick and easy way like you can in iOS to actually just go ahead and merge. So yeah, hopefully that helps out. Well, it doesn't help out, but it means you might need to go away and use iOS. What else do we have in the news and notes that I put here? Yeah, so the other big thing is that there doesn't seem to be an Apple March event. There was a lot of speculation, a lot of rumors around the fact that in March we may see new iPad Pros, perhaps new iPads or iPad Airs, an Air 5, 5th generation iPad Air, or even these new AirTags that they've been talking about for like 3 years. Seriously, just put the AirTag out, Apple. We keep hearing about them. I want an AirTag. I want to put an AirTag on my keys so that my phone and my keys talk to each other. I think that would be cool. I'm waiting for it. I'm your target market and I'm saying bring it. But apparently the AirTags are not going to be announced. And there hasn't really been a heap of March announcements. The last major announcement was 2018 for actual hardware. I can't remember what that was now. I think that was an iPad. But then 2019, there was some software stuff. 2020, well, guess what? March 2020, a lot was going on and there wasn't any update. But yeah, the rumors are that, hey, there was going to be an update on the 16th of March. The latest version of that is we won't get anything. So we will find out very soon because obviously we're coming into the end of February here. We're only about 4 weeks away from the 16th of March and I just don't see anything coming that quickly around the corner. Apple kind of went nuts in 2020. They put out a whole bunch of new products. We've reviewed it before. They had like 4 new iPhones and 3 new iPads and all of this gear. And the new Mac M1, of course, which I'm using right now. So I don't see that there being a need for them to bring out anything else. But we shall see. We shall see. Question from Huska. Would you recommend getting on a Mac M1 now? They work pretty well with GarageBand. Might get one if the new iMacs come out. And that's the other question that a lot of folks have been having is when are we going to see an iMac or a Mac Pro or some other sort of Mac or the MacBook Pro that's actually sort of the higher end one that has the 4 USB ports and more than 16 gigabytes of RAM. So that's, again, a big question. I don't think March is it. I think we're going to be talking middle of the year, if not late 2021. So it really just comes down to what do you need right now? And for me, the reason I jumped onto the new Mac M1 when it first came out is that I needed a replacement for my aging PC for live streaming. And the added advantage was that I can now run some iOS apps, not as many as I'd hoped, but I can run some iOS apps and I can run GarageBand for Mac. And eventually I can run Reaper or DaVinci Resolve for video editing or Logic. I know a lot of people want me to check out Logic. So there's some of the things that I can look to in the future, but we will see. We'll find out. So that's what we had for the news and the notes. So more speculation this week than actual news, but yeah, just a few little Apple rumors and things and conversation points. And I know it's been a hot topic around the channel and around the GarageBand and Apple in general forums lately, which is folks questioning Apple's strategy and where they're going to get to for the future. Did you get a MacBook Air? No, Mac Mini M1. And if you want to see the full breakdown of my experience with the Mac M1 Mini that I'm running on right now, you can check that out on the channel. Just search for Pete John's Mac M1 and you'll get a whole bunch of videos ready to go. Alrighty, let's continue on and move to our next segment, which is our feature topic. And for our feature topic, I'm going to need to jump in and grab my iPad here. We're going to pop down my Google Chrome tab, and if everything's working, there we go. We should be good to go. You should see my iPad screen. So let's get ready to rumble. I think I'm thinking of wrestling. I think Jade said she was watching the wrestling today, and it's made me think of wrestling. So let's dive in to our feature topic. And our feature topic is drums. Yes, drums in GarageBand. There are a heap of ways to add them, and I thought I would show you all 5 different ways to add drums and a few little hints and tips along the way for getting the best out of the different drums here in GarageBand. So number 1, drums, manual drums. You can come in here and just tap on the drums here and you'll go straight to a drum kit. In this case, I've got an electric kit here. But to change our drum kits here on the iPad, we tap in the middle there and we can actually go to any acoustic, electric or percussion kit. Now, if you're on an iPhone, you'll need to actually drop it down in the corner and select it. So there'll be a little arrow in the corner here. You drop it down and you select the kit rather than having it right here in the middle. Let's go to an acoustic kit. So something like the Bluebird, one of my favorite acoustic kits. And now to record in some drums, pretty straightforward. Yeah, we hit the record button and you literally play the drums in on the screen with your fingers. Let's see how well Pete can play drums live here and lay down a bit of a basic groove. I'm just going to go bass drum and snare drum here just to get a simple groove. So we'll hit record, 2, 3, 4, and we'll go. And there you go. We've recorded that. That's all good. Now, you might be saying, well, that's really good, Pete, but what about your cymbals and whatnot? Well, this is where there's actually a couple of little options. I said I'd give you some tips along the way. If we tap on this little mixer icon here and go to track settings, we can go to recording and notice how merge recordings is on. Now, if that was off, if we re-recorded over this, it would record over the top of the drums. But with merge recordings on, this is the coolest tip you have with these drums. Because if we want to layer up our drum kit all on that one track, we can actually do this. Because now if we go back to our drum by tapping there, and we get ready to hit the record button. All right, let's just record in a little hi-hat pattern here. So 2, 3, 4. There you go. And we've recorded that. And look what happens. Yeah, it records it over the top of that one. We'll do it one more time just to show you the flexibility of that. We want a few crash cymbals in here. So we're building up our track now. Let's get ready to hit a crash cymbal. Now, as you're hearing there, one of the challenges here with drums is getting the velocity right, yeah? So what I tend to also do is if you come in here to your recording options here, no, that's the wrong spot. I'm in the wrong thing. You've got to go to your drums. See, even after this, there you go. As soon as you go to your drums, see how we get velocity sensitivity? I'll do that one more time because I've confused myself there. So if you've got your drum track here and you go to your track settings, you've only got quantization and recording mode, right? As soon as you go to the drum option though, you get a third option here, velocity sensitivity. Now what I tend to do is record my drums with velocity sensitivity off because it gives me a more consistent sound, or at least on low. And let me know if you're watching this live or if you're watching the replay, do you use velocity sensitivity or do you turn it off? The beauty of it off is that you don't get those half hits and problems like you do when you've got velocity sensitivity high, where, you tap it and it doesn't quite work. Now, not all is lost because, of course, with your drums and with any track here in GarageBand, you can edit. So if we tap here and we tap on edit, we can do this and we can come in and move any of these around. So we can tap each drum and there's that hi-hat. So if we didn't want that one, we can just delete it off that first beat. And there's our secondary hi-hat. There's our open hi-hat. And all of these, you'll see, have a velocity setting here. So that one's right in the middle there. Let's just find, so here's our snare. They're all, see, that one was way too loud, right? So we can tap on velocity and go, actually, we don't want the velocity that loud. We want it to be down here like the rest of them. And then it will sound a lot more uniform. And again, that one, too loud again. Too loud, so velocity, whoop, got to be careful, tap, velocity, drag it down, and there you go. So drums, manual drums can be pretty cool, but yeah, I would suggest, as Tom Rochelle's saying here, best to turn it off and adjust in edit mode. So that's what I've tended to find, is that you go into your drum here, remember you've got to be in the actual drum view, hit track settings, and then velocity sensitivity, turn it off, or at least have it low, that way you'll be doing less editing in the post-production. So that's number one way of adding drums, but you would have noticed it's a bit clunky. You've got to know how to play drums. You've got to have your rhythm going. What if you want something a little smarter? Well, that's where our smart drums come in. So let's hit the plus button here. This time, we're going to tap smart drums. Now, these have been around for ages. They've had a bit of a facelift, so they look a little bit cooler now, but we could actually use, again, any one of our kits. So we'll tap here. We're on the hip-hop machine. Actually, no, I'd say that any one of our kits. We are restricted to only a certain number of kits by default. There's ways you can work around that. Maybe we'll talk about that in a future video. But let's come in here and say we wanted to go back to that classic studio kit. We can grab, say, a kick drum and drag it in here. Now, you'll notice here we've got simple and complex. We've got quiet and loud. So for a kick drum, let's just say we wanted it to be around about there. We wanted it to be sort of pretty loud, but a reasonable, simple sort of kick. There we go. Now we'll bring our snare in. We want the snare to be also as loud, but a little bit more complex. Grab a hi-hat. Let's go with a simple hi-hat, but still at sort of a slightly lower volume maybe. That's not really doing much, is it? Bring it up a bit. There you go. And then we'll bring some cymbals in. We'll keep them simple down there. And there you go. You can turn it on and off just by hitting your button here. And to record that in, turn off. To record that in, all we need to do is record and hit the button. So let's just mute out our first drums. We'll tap on this drum icon to come back to our smart drum grid. That's what we've lined up. We hit the record button and then it'll turn on and it's recording in those drums. Easy peasy, right? Now, what's kind of fun here, so again, that's going to be a pretty basic sort of beat and doesn't really do much for you, but it's going to be consistent. It's going to be right on the grid and it's going to be super easy to do. But what we can actually do is just have some fun with this, and we can hit the reset button here and it's going to go and give us something random. Roll the dice again. This beat is my recital, etc. Now we've got more of a country beat. So you can do that. You can hit the reset button here. Oh, not that one. You can hit the reset button here and that will, oh, I thought that brought it back to nothing. It shows how long it's been since I've actually used these. So as you can see, it's a little bit clunky and I don't love the smart drums, but they're an option there. And the benefit of the smart drums is that you can come in here and you can edit any of these. So we can come in and we can, oh, can we? Why can't I edit? Have I missed an option here? Do we not have the ability to edit smart drums? Wow. Okay, don't use smart drums. That would be my tip because it doesn't appear that it records them as MIDI drums, but we don't seem to have an edit function. Did I miss a meeting on this one? What if we just duplicate this one out and grab this? Can we move it? No. Oh, wow. There you go. So you might have to use a tip that will show that I've showed in another video where you can turn drama tracks into drum tracks. Apparently you have to do the same with the smart drums. Who knew, right? Well, anyway, let's move on because I don't like the smart drums. Go away, smart drums. You bother me. We'll just delete out that one. We'll mute both of these. And let's go to one of the options that I do love. And you know what that is? That is our beat sequencer. Yeah, gotta love the beat sequencer. So this is like smart drums if it was done right, yeah? we need the beat sequencer to do this. Now, we've used acoustic kits to start with. Again, the beauty is you get all of your different kits, your percussion, your electronic, and your acoustic. Let's get a modern 808 beat, shall we? Everyone loves an 808, right? So here's what we can do with this. We can actually line up our grid here. And look, there's a whole bunch of options in here that we're not going to be able to cover all of them in this one. You've got a lot of options here where you've got different patterns you can put in. So say we wanted to just bring in a classic house pattern. We can go to our pattern browser down the bottom here and go boom. Yeah. Very cool there. You can turn your steps on and off down here. You've got velocity that you can adjust. So if you go to your mode, so that's your step mode, you can turn those on and off and adjust your steps. You can go to velocity mode, which means you can actually drag up and down the velocity of each individual hit and see how much better this is in terms of a display than actually having to go in and adjust them and do your MIDI roll editing. Just so much more intuitive. You got note repeat functions here, so you can tell it whether you want to repeat the note a bunch of times or not. There's just so much that you can do in here. There's charts, so you can even tell it if you want it to have a likelihood of playing it. So you can add in some randomness of if it will or won't play. Some of them will say it's going to be like a good chance, and some it's going to definitely play. And then you can just loop the start and the end here. So you can actually change up and say, all right, the kick drum, we want to loop just those bits. This one, we want to do the whole lot. The claps, we want to clap on every beat. And again, I've done this really quickly, but go in and explore yourself because there's so much here to do. If we now hit the button here, pretty cool, yeah? And what you're noticing there is that I haven't showed this, but there's actually two sections here. So it's actually going right across the whole 8 bars. So you can actually then come in here and adjust this separately to be different at the end. So you can get these to cut off at different points as well. If you've used step sequences before, you'll know what this is all about. If you haven't, get in there and play. You can't break anything, and you're going to have a heck of a lot of fun just experimenting with this. Once again, to record in, all we need to do is hit the record button. It'll turn on down here, and off it goes. There you go. So that's how you record in with the beat sequencer. Again, you got the dice there. My kids love doing this. Just roll the dice and see what it does. Pretty cool, yeah? Just keep rolling that dice. And of course, beat sequencer is not just for your electronic drums. You can use it to create some pretty cool acoustic sounds. Let's grab the 4 on the floor kit and hit this one. Interesting. All right, hit the dice. Pretty cool. And obviously, if we don't want to have, if we want to have more of the right sort of sound, what am I doing there? I'm saving a drum kit. All right, we won't do that. Come out. We can hit the beats, the pattern here, and we can create, we can use our own pattern. Oh, why has it got 4 on the floor again? It's using, it's got these 4 on the floor patterns here. That's all right. We'll come down further. There we go. Something like the Sunset Ride. That's more fitting for an acoustic kit. Pretty cool, yeah. So that is scratching the surface literally, because there is so much that you can do with the beat sequencer. Very cool, very easy way to get some drums in. But let's hit mute on that beat sequencer, have a quick drink, and continue on. So let's jump into our next form of drums, and that is using Apple loops. Yep, loops, don't poo-poo them until you've tried them, because there's some very cool Apple loops right here in the loop browser. So to use Apple loops, all you need to do is tap on the loops icon in the top right. You need to come down here, and you can just find the loops yourself. There's 2 types of loops. There's just a standard audio file loop, or if you scroll down and look for the little yellow ones, you've got drummer loops, which we'll cover in the next one. Spoiler alert, we're going to look at drummer next. But let's just find, again, we can go to instruments here. And if we go to all drums, this is going to make it just drum-based loops. So let's just find, I actually love this Bebop drum set. So if we grab this one, all you need to do is tap it, drag it, and drop it. And then you've got a drum beat. A really loud one, apparently. Hopefully no one was, doing the dishes when it hit that first bang there. Hopefully no one was holding any antique china, and they're just like, swoo, smash. And like, thanks, Pete. I've just lost it. That's a pretty cool one. Yeah, we're being loud here today, aren't we? We'll turn the volume down. So you can just drag it in there. You've then got complete control because you can use these just like any other audio file. So here you go. It's just a 2-bar loop, but it's looped out to 8 bars. We can grab the handle and bring it on back. We can tap it and do some cool things in here, like go to your settings. You can change up the gain there. You can change the speed. So say we wanted this to be a halftime kind of beat, we can do a bit of that. Turn into a bit of a 9 Inch Nails kind of vibe there. Add some distortion, you'll be home. No. You can even reverse it. You can adjust the tone. So if we wanted that to be like a higher kind of breakbeat kind of sound, you get something like this. Nice, see, we reversed it and we made it higher. So you can change it around and you can just experiment. And I recommend, the one thing I'll say about loops is experiment with them, because if you make a song that is just a couple of loops, chances are someone else has used just those loops in their exact default settings before, and you may get like copyright claims and things. So do change them up and do some... Maybe not that intense, but yeah, you can change them up and do all sorts of things with them. The other thing you can do in here, you would have seen here, we've got files. So you can bring in, I've showed this before. If you search my name, Pete Johns Import Audio, you can actually import audio files into here. So here's one that I prepared earlier. If we grab this one and drag it in, now what you'll notice, this one's at 96 BPM, yeah? And this track is at 110 BPM. So as I've dragged it in there, it hasn't lined up with our metronome. If we wanted to make sure we line it up, all we need to do first is make sure that your track BPM matches. So we go to 96 BPM, we'll then come in here to loops, and we'll grab this one, and it'll go boom, and look at that. Sits beautifully right there in there. We'll just turn it down in case it's going to blow our ears off again, and we can hit play. There you go. There's our loop. Bring it back in with our bluebird. And you can start getting some custom beats by just bringing different types together. So what if we bring this and this and this? This might the matrix might explode. Kind of sounds like that the Butthole Surfers song, Pepper. I don't mind the sun sometimes. Right? Anyway, there's a lot of opportunity there. Let's go with our final one here, and that is our drummer. So we'll delete out that one. That one's a bit weird. But number 5, the drummer. If we hit plus on there and we scroll on across, we get our drummer. Boom, there he is. So what we can do with drummer is we can either just tap it straight there or hit the more drummers option here. And this is where you get the likes of Kyle, the legendary Kyle himself. We've got Logan, we've got Anders, we've got all these different folks. You come in here, we'll just mute everything else, shall we, before we play this one, and hit the play button. And this is the quickest and easiest way to get a good drum sound in here. We can come straight in here, just find a drummer that matches the style you're going with. So here's Graham, our experimental songwriter. Cool, yeah? And then we can come in here, and if you want an electronic one, who do I like in the electronics? I like, who is he? Dez. I'm a Dez fan when it comes to the electronic, because he does this sort of stuff. The sort of music I don't make, but would love to make. Yeah? Anyone else feel the same way? They're like, I don't make this sort of music, but I love listening to that sound. So that is it. That is your drummer. Now, there is a very cool tip. If you're thinking, well, drummer looks cool, Pete, but I like the idea of these green ones because I can come in here. If I do the drums myself and I program them myself, I can edit them. Well, guess what? You can actually change your drummer track into a real drum track. And instead of telling you about that right now, I've linked to that video down in the description. So if you want to follow on from this one, if you've missed that video that's already been released about how to do that, you can check that out in the description after the video. So there you go. The 5 different ways. We've got manual drums. We've got our smart drums. We've got our, let's try that again. Your 5 drums. You've got your manual drums, you've got your smart drums, you've got your beat sequencer, you've got your Apple loops, and you've got your drummer. So don't come telling me that there's not enough ways to make drums in GarageBand or that you're running out of ideas, especially things like drummer and beat sequencer. Go in there, hit the button, hit the dice, roll your dice, and get something cool and play some loop roulette and create some songs with it. So there you go. That is drums. What do you think? And I would love to hear your drum tips as well. Anyone here that is here live that has tips about the drums that I may have missed or cool things that you can do, then yeah, do let me know. Hello to the folks who have joined us. Hello to Jade, who has snuck in, was talking about you before. Your ears must have been burning. Jeff Brush says, I was playing with some loops yesterday. It's fun to mash a bunch of them together. Absolutely. It's very, very cool. Tom says, there's a volume control at the bottom of the loops browser. It's always way too loud by default. That's a really good tip, Tom, and I should have showed that. In fact, let's jump over. Let's give that as a bonus tip here, courtesy of Tom. So if you do want to, if you're finding that every time you're in here and you're auditioning loops, it's ridiculously loud, check this out. Down the bottom here, you've got this. So yeah, every time you do that, I come in here and you tap it. That's better, right? Because when by default it's like that. Why does it have to be like that? Why do you want to blow my ears off, Apple? So yeah, you can come in here and you can... Benny's cool too. I do love me some Benny. So there you go. That is some options that you have if you're using your loops browser. And I think it stays like that, doesn't it, Tom? I think it stays whatever volume you dial it in. Clearly, I haven't done much loops work since I got my new iPad, because how long have I had it? And I haven't bothered changing it. There you go. And Kim misses having a CD player. Oh, I'm so nostalgic for old stuff. I've been watching some Tech Moan and some LGR lately, and man, am I nostalgic for the old days where you had some real physical media. Yeah, missing my physical media. Tom says there's definitely some cool sounds and vocal samples in there to play. Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff that you can grab in the beat sequencer and all the things. And Bubba says, yeah, never noticed that. Clearly, I haven't used it in a long time either, but I knew it was there because I remember blowing my ears off in the early days and turning it down, but that is an excellent additional tip. Tim Osborne says, I use the drummer a lot, but heavily edit it. You can make it work well like that. Yeah, and as I was mentioning in the video there, you can either heavily edit your drummer by, say, chopping it up. So if we grab Des here and we chopped him down to there, and we came in here to the drummer. So yeah, obviously you can instruct him how to play. So you can come in here and say, all right, we want a simple beat here. We just want your hi-hat. We want you to be there. We want to come in and drop you there and do something like that, and then hit the button. And then you go, all right, well, I want this to change up a bit the next section. So we'll copy and we'll paste that out to a new section. And in this section, we want you to get more complex. And why don't you bring in your percussion as well and do a bit of that action. And then you can really heavily customize to get the difference. Let's just turn that volume down. Because again, everything's very loud today. Do you know why it was loud? Because Pete was playing all 5 drum tracks at once. Well done, me. So let's just try that one more time. Yeah, much better. Much more civilized. Actually, I got a question this week which is related to that. So I'll talk about it here for a moment. And that is, folks were saying, hey, why is it that when I export my song, it's clipping and it's distorting and it's doing that pumping thing when I've got all of these and none of them are actually peaking? So if we came back and I'll turn down my mixer volume just so we're not going to blow your ears off. So if you had all this going on, right? So take a look over here on the left. If you're just looking on the left here, and here's the problem. If you're on iPhone, you'll only have these. You won't even have this master meter at the top. So if you're looking at all of these down the left-hand side, yeah, each one of them is not equaling 0 dB and is not going into clipping territory at all. They're all looking fine, right? Yeah, that's groovy. That's the beat you put together. Take a look up here. You're basically hitting max volume constantly. So what that's going to sound like when you export it, GarageBand kind of protects you from yourself here, and it will just turn everything down. As soon as you export this, that's where it does that auto normalization, and in this case, auto limiting, because it won't let it go over 0 dB. So even though this is bouncing around in the red, or the yellow, whatever GarageBand uses, it won't let it go there. So instead, it'll just sound like garbled garbage when you actually go to export it. So the answer here is to turn everything down. Make sure you give yourself some space, and you shouldn't have, like when using virtual instruments, nothing should be at full volume, and start with everything at half volume or even a quarter volume, because it's all relative, yeah? And if you're mixing up like 8, 16, 32 tracks, you're going to find that you're going to overwhelm it really quickly. Like here, that's probably a little bit low, but now we're like at that 50% mark. Look how quickly, if we just edge some of these up, look how quickly we're at 70 to 80%. Now that's where I reckon you should be for your overall track. You don't want to be all the way up here. You want to be about there, and look how low some of these things are mixed in. So that's probably the biggest mistake I see newcomers make, because GarageBand defaults you to like up here, yeah? If we double tap these, double tap, double tap, double tap, double tap. See, why is it? See that? Does double tap not work on some of these? Okay, maybe double tap doesn't work at all anymore. Does it work with my finger? Yeah, okay. It works with my finger, so it just doesn't work with the mouse. But you can see there, that's where GarageBand puts all your volumes at, and that's going to give you instant clipping. It won't sound like it at first, but it will definitely overload. So put your volumes down. And the other thing, I've showed this hack before, but if you're newer to GarageBand, the FX trick is very cool. If we grab an FX track, if we just record and do anything we want to, but you don't have to do anything. Oh, yes, you do. You do. To keep the FX track, we have to do something. That sounded kind of cool. As usual, I might come up with an actual song just playing with this. And then we just delete this out. We can actually use this FX track now. Instead of adding FX to our whole mix, we can come in here and go to our visual EQ, and we can just turn down the volume. So if we did have everything up too loud like that, and we were getting too much noise going through, well, if we hit play now, see how we're lower? And then we want it to be down an extra 5 dB? No problem. These can all be doing their thing, but this is going to sit nicely down there. So that's a couple of options that you have. If you're finding that your mixes are overpowering in GarageBand and you're getting some of that distortion or clipping or that bouncy sound that you're getting at the top end with the limiting, that pumping, then it's probably caused by having your instruments simply up too loud. Hello to Benjamin. Hello there. You've got a question here. Can you record with the drums from GarageBand tracks and make an actual song without copywriting? Yeah, 100%. So if you're newer to GarageBand, all of the stuff that we use here in GarageBand, everything you can use from your loops to your drummers to your autoplay, all of it is able to be used 100% royalty-free, copyright-free on your commercial releases. The only problem is, and I mentioned this before, that if someone else has used, let's just say that someone has a song and they've used this exact Des beat here, and it sounds like this. Turn it back up. Let's say that the first 4 bars of their track is exactly that. And then you decide you want a track where you want the first 4 bars to be exactly that particular Des style. Now, it's unlikely, but someone may actually have already released a song and copyrighted and have a content ID added to it with that exact bit. Now, that was about 8 seconds of audio. So if someone has that 8 seconds of audio in their copyrighted song, you can actually get a copyright claim even though you're using something that you can actually use. So the tip is mix and match, change them up, add multiple tracks and layers, put a synth underneath, add a different kick drum. The more you customize it and the more work you go into actually tweaking and changing it, the better. So what I would do is, instead of just having that, I'd add in this custom loop that I have here, and I'd get because obviously this is not going to match anything because I'm using this random imported drum loop at 96 BPM, and then I'm using this Des loop on top of it. So the more you can change it and customize it up, and then if I wanted to go nuts, we could have. So the more you add, the more you change, the better you're going to be, and that can include your tempo, reversing things. So again, I've seen so many people come in here and they've got their tempo at 110 because that's GarageBand default. They're in C major because that's GarageBand default. And then they create a song and it gets a copyright claim because they've just put 4 or 5 different loops together and they're like, there's my song. Get in there, customize it, change it up, and you won't have any problem. Alrighty, and yes, Bubba answered that question. It was funny. I did home studio Q&A with my daughter as my producer, and it was like a 30-minute show because she was just like, "Dad, you've answered the question. Next." And Bubba answered the question. Yes, copyright free, but hopefully those additional things can actually help you out. And no problem at all. No worries at all. Yes, edit, change it up, make it different if you can. Let's move on to it. That was a lot about drums. So thank you. And yeah, like I say, if you're watching on the replay or if you're here live, if you've got any additional drum tips like Tom did here, drop them down in the comments. We would love to hear them. I'm going to do a quick rant this week because we're already 40 minutes in. So let's just have a quick drinks break. and jump in to a round of the week. Now, this one was interesting because I like. Okay, I'm going to put my hand up and say right now, I like going to concerts by myself. Is there anyone else in the crowd, anyone else watching on the replay that likes going to concerts by yourself? There's a bunch of reasons why I like to do. I like to be able to get up and go to the toilet whenever I want to. I like to be able to just go to the bar when I want to. If I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed and it's too loud, I like to be able to go out the back and just hang out for a bit and then go back. So being by myself is actually my favorite way to go to concerts. And don't get me wrong, I still go to concerts with my wife and with my friends and with my kids. But sometimes, if there's a gig and it's for me, I want to go there so I can enjoy the music and the experience and do whatever I want. I was at a concert recently, the Ice House gig that you might have seen me talk about, and I was there and got there, and it was a physically distant concert, so you had to have 1.5 meters all around you. And it probably kind of made me stand out a lot more than usual at a concert because I had to sit there on the beach in my chair with no one around me for 1.5 meters. And so I kind of looked like a bit of a sad loner, yeah? And I could understand this. The amount of people that came up, and they weren't even really supposed to come up and talk to other people that you don't know because, stranger danger in 2021, but would come up and they're like, "Are you here by yourself? Are you okay? Do you want to come and hang out with us? You can hang out with our group." I'm like, "No, I can't really because I don't know you, and that's the whole point of the whole distancing thing." And they're like, "Oh, okay. Why are you here by yourself?" And after I got asked for the fourth time, "Why are you here by yourself?" I thought to myself, is it quite so strange? Is it such a strange thing? I'm like, I reckon there's probably some people that are part of the community here that are similar to me. So I guess my rant about this is just that I was there doing my own thing with myself, and I think other people, instead of just doing their thing and getting into the music and doing it the way that they wanted to, they were more worried about what I was doing than what they were doing. And they were more worried about me, and maybe it came from a place of genuine concern and care, or maybe they're just like, hey, I'm feeling uncomfortable because that guy looks like he should be doing the things like us. Like, why is he not conforming and have a group of 2 or 4 or 6 people that he's going to see a gig with? So yeah, I don't really know what this point was with this one. It's not even related to GarageBand at all, but I found it interesting. So yeah, there you go. Do you go to concerts by yourself? Am I only weird one that goes to concerts by myself? Russ says he goes to concerts by himself sometimes. There you go. Jeff says I went to a few by myself. There you go. Uh, Benjamin can't wait for concerts to open up again. Yeah, absolutely. Mark, by yourself? Yeah, look, I have no problem. Kim says actually never been to a concert by myself. There you go. There you go. On the drum thing, we were just talking about, so Autism Rocks. So our friends Danny and Micah say all our drums have been programmed with GarageBand, Logic Pro more recently. Wife upgraded me for my birthday from Danny. Awesome. You have to let me know. And for those that use Logic, other Logic drums, what's the benefit? What additional features do you get with Logic over GarageBand when it comes to drums? Because I haven't explored it yet. I haven't even scraped the surface. So yeah, let me know if you have that. Tom says I'd have to go back and look, but I'm sure I've done it. Yeah, and look, maybe I'm just strange. Maybe I'm in the 1% of people that actually like to do that. But it is a bit weird that, yeah. And look, that's a good point. Probably be scared to go by myself, and maybe that's the case for some folks. But for me, this was a daytime gig. It was an outdoor concert. Yeah, if I was going to a seedy nightclub for like a 1 a.m. show from like a punk band, probably less inclined to go by myself in case, get glassed on the way out or something like that. Anyway, we'll continue on, but I just thought that was really weird. Greg says, I like to go to movie matinee by myself, but have history of being ditched by my bros for some reason. And that's the other thing. If you plan to do something by yourself, you never have to worry about being ditched by other people or unreliable people not showing up because you just have to worry about you. Again, maybe it's a weird part of my my personality that's different. But again, it all comes back to you do you. You know what? I'm not going to go around and say to people, why do you like to hang out in large groups of people? Because I know why they do. But again, it just seems that when people see someone by themselves, they're like, why? Why do you have to be by yourself? Are you some kind of weird loner? Like, no, I'm just enjoying the music, having a good time. Let's move on. Now, our tip of the week. We're really low on time, so I'm actually going to, instead of showing you the tip of the week, I alluded to it. Oh, I'm going to come back over here. How do I get to me? Come on, Apple. Come on. I can't get... I have some fun with the Mac sometimes. I can't get my... There they are. I couldn't get my there it is. All right. I could not get my screen sharing happening again. It wouldn't let me go over to the thing. Bubba says I only ever went alone if my friend was on stage. There you go. If you're going to support your friends, go on it. But yeah, That's cool. And yeah, I do miss weirdly. My wife's cousin was playing drums in a band, and they were doing a gig, and it just happened to be on the exact same night of the last gig. So there's been like 4 gigs in Adelaide in all the last 6 months, and there would just happen to be 2 on the same night. And also, I was away this weekend, and I saw that my friend Samantha Edge, who's a busker here in Adelaide, was playing like in the suburb, well, not the suburb, but like 2 suburbs over at a shopping centre. They had like a big promotion thing where they had buskers out. And again, it was the one weekend that I was away. So go figure. Let's come in here. I was going to do this tip of the week and show you again, but you know what? Drummer to drums. I will just instead tell you about it here because now I can't even find it. There it is. Drummer to MIDI drums. I'm going to copy this one now, and I'll put it in the description here because I was going to do a different tip here, as you might have seen there, but we're going to do drummer to drums. And instead of actually showing it to you again in all of its detail, I'm going to link that video so you can go away and check out that video if you do want to learn, because it's very cool. As you can see by the thumbnail there, you can take those yellow drummer tracks, and with one little tweak, you can actually turn them into green MIDI tracks that you can edit. So if you're doing the things like we were doing before, you could jump in here and say you've got this Des track, but you wanted to actually edit the notes and edit the actual drum pieces and all the parts. You can actually do that and turn it into a track more like that. I'll have to try. Now that I know that smart drums don't have an edit option, maybe I need to do a smart drums to drums video. That's going to go on the list because, again, with the beat sequencer, you can come in here and you can edit beat sequencer because that's just a drum one. But for whatever bloody reason, smart drums is not a drum. And even before, when we try to move it, it says, nope, you can't move it there and you can't move it there. So it's its own thing. Smart drums are their own weird thing. I don't know. Are there enough people still using smart drums? Not sure. Not sure if it's worth it. All right, let's come on over and can we get out of there? We've got to bring it back. I'm not doing well here. I've been like 3 days away from using my computer, and I'm coming back here, and I'm finding it challenging to get there. All right. So what did I want to show you here? Oh, so next thing on the list here is our plugin or app of the week. And I'm cheating again. I'm going the double cheat here because what I want to do is I've got to check these out. The SWAM brass instruments are very cool. And I've been watching Jade for about the last 2 weeks on her How To App series, and she's been covering all of these, all the different bundles, all the different instruments, going into detail about them. So I will pick them up and I will show them eventually. But I believe, and Jade, correct me if I'm wrong, or someone that's been watching, I believe that that they're on special, and the sale price ends today, or it may have already ended, but it's ending very soon. So if you do want to pick them up, what I would do is straight after this show, go away, watch a whole bunch of Jade's videos about them, see if they're right for you, because they're quite costly. I think they're about are they 20 or 30? $20 or $30 US each that you need to pay for them. So don't do it. Don't jump into it. But if you're looking for brass sound, the reason I'm showing this, I've had a heap of people saying, Pete, I need a good trumpet sound. I need a good trombone sound. I need a good French horn sound. And I've been pushing to iSymphonic or something like Sample Tank, but I keep hearing again and again that SWAM is the way to go. And as Jade says here, the sale ends in Australia tomorrow. Today in Australia, the rest of the world tomorrow. So you've got yourself a little bit of time. So go binge watch all of that, and then you'll be back, and then you can check it out. So please go ahead and do that, and do go check out all of Jay's shows, because she's been doing a show every day. What are you, 204, 205 shows in? 206. It says right there, Pete. 206 shows in. So yeah, there's plenty of shows there for you to check out if you want to. Have I tried Bias FX2 with GarageBand? No, but guess who has? Yes, Jade Starr. So I love that Jade does these, because she does more of the app reviews and more checking out of the new apps. Kind of means I don't have to. I still check them out, but Jade's my filter. Jade will check them out, and it's only that I've been watching 2 weeks of the SWAM apps, and I'm like, yes, I need to have these in my world, so that's why I'm now going to go and actually check them out. But Jade's kind of, for everyone, gets to do the, hey, is this something that's going to be cool? And if it's cool, you can go ahead and get it. Yes, and as Bubba said, the Binny John's Hacks works on them. Just tested. There you go. So Bubba has just tested on the smart drums, and you can indeed use the same hack to copy them and paste them into a standard drum track. And yeah, I did mean to say that, so thank you, Bubba, for the reminder. Big shout out to Benny Sandhu, who's a viewer here on the channel and a member of the GarageBand users and Create, Record, Release families. He is the one who came up with the original hack that can help you copy your drums into actual drums. Oh, wow. Only gig that I went to was dodgy. It was Run DMC and Beastie Boys was the location, though. There you go. Run DMC and Beastie Boys. That would have been old school. Back in the day, right? Rowan says, I once went to the big day out by myself. That was no good. I've been to one. I must admit, the big day outs, I usually went with people because, again, there's so much time in between bands and it's more about, that is more of a social thing. And I guess some would say that, the beach gig I went to was more of a social thing. But again, with all the physical distancing stuff, it seemed less weird to be by myself. But I went to one big day out by myself and it was 2000 or 2001 and it was in Sydney. So I live in Adelaide and I went to Sydney for the big day out. It was on what was then Australia Day. Well, I guess it still is for now, on the 26th of January. The hottest 100 was happening that day, and it was just after, unfortunately, bad things had happened the previous year at Sydney Big Day Out, or was it the year before? No, I think it was the year before. Yeah, I think it was the year before because we didn't have like the T-bars or anything. It was basically the last year where there could just be ridiculous moshing. And System of a Down plus like thousands of drunk Australians in the afternoon on like a 35-degree day in Sydney. Yeah, let's just say that I was like pushed and crushed around there and I thought, dude, anyone that's not like a big dude like me that's going to get into this mosh pit is going to get like in some serious trouble. So I don't mosh much anymore, but that was probably the scariest mosh I've been in. When you look forward and you can see about 20 rows of people and then you're like, I really better get out of here. But you turn around and look behind and there's about 50 rows of people pushing forward against you. Not the coolest feeling. Don't know why I did it back in the day. Any moshers? Any retired moshers like me? Yeah, why did we do that? Anyway, we're getting way off. Track from GarageBand. Things like this is what we need to know. Is that Bubba just dropped a track on SoundCloud using SWAM brass, and it's incredible. Well, that doesn't surprise me whatsoever. Absolutely not. Alrighty, Alana still moshes. There you go. Still get out there and mosh. Is moshing a thing of the past? Is moshing gonna happen again? I don't know. Yeah, I love System of a Down too. And they do have a crazy crowd. I think at one point they were like, everyone was packed in and they're like, okay, circle pit. It's like, yeah, right. No one can move forwards or backwards, let alone in a circle. But yeah, that was the days. But I don't know, moshing. What do we reckon? I might have to put a poll out there. Will moshing ever be a thing again? I think we have very short memories, and I think it will. 2022, big festivals, moshing. Yeah, and pit love is a thing. Again, for all of the times that I was in a mosh pit and I felt like I could possibly get crushed, weird like big tatted up dudes with mohawks would just be like reaching out going, "You're right, mate, we got you." They'd pull you up, and then there's like someone small would be in there like, "Don't worry, we'll back them off." So yeah, there is a lot of love in the pit. Anyway, we're getting way off track. Let's move into our final few sections here. In fact, it's our very last one because we've just showed that while we're throwing out love for other things you should check out, just so that you know that I'm not just here to tell you to buy my course, but of course I am going to tell you that too because studiolivetoday.com/courses. No, sorry. We are brought to you today by me and the GarageBand iOS Beginners course. So you can check that one out. But here's what I want you to do as well. I know most of you already are, but I want you to jump over to the sound test room. If you aren't following Doug over at the sound test room, you need to be. Because look at all this goodness. Just looking at those thumbnails makes me want to sit down and binge watch about 4 hours of sound test room. But yeah, you can see there, there's the SWAM app. So Doug's been looking at the SWAM app as well. Yeah, we've got some Synthmaster 1 action there, all sorts of different apps. Doug is out there at the forefront. When the new app's out there, Doug's going to be checking it out. So there's a link down in the description. If you're not already subscribed, if you're not already checking out Doug and the sound test room, you need to absolutely do so. And Doug and Joe, who run the channel, are the nicest people that you're ever going to meet, which helps you as well. You know what? If someone that was really good at apps and had amazing videos, but they were a bit of a dick, I probably wouldn't tell you to go check them out. But when they're nice people like Doug and Joe, and you get awesome information as well, then you got to go. You got to go there and do that. So that's our resource of the week if you want to check it out. It is down below in the description. This is weird, doing this stuff so late at night for many of you, but it's only midday for me, but it still feels a bit late because I'm so used to talking GarageBand first thing in the morning. And by the way, before we do finish up, yeah, we've got some Doug love coming in here from Jade and from Tom. Yeah, if you haven't gone and checked out Doug, he's cool. He's a quirky character. He's a bit like me. He has his little sayings and things. Don't think he says righty dokey, but he does have his own little Dougisms. And yeah, everyone loves a bit of Doug in their lives. Yeah, thanks everyone for your support over the weekend. If you caught some of the other shows, so yeah, I'm back in the studio, as you probably have noticed. The Cube, where is it? That side. So the Roland Cube Street EX, I did a review on it, a very quick unboxing type review. I used it on the weekend. I'm going to be hitting it hard during the week to find out more about it and to learn about it, and then I'm going to come back with a full review. Spoiler alert, it's bloody awesome. Like, it was just plug and play. So to let you know that the setup I had to do my live show was that I had my guitar and my microphone. So I used my AKG D5 and my Taylor guitar. They plugged straight in, just dialed up a tiny bit of reverb, put the volume up. It just came out crystal clear and perfect. I then just grabbed, there's a line out. That's why I got the EX model, because it has the line out as well. So stereo TRS line out, 2 channels, straight into my Steinberg UI22C, and then just dialed in like a medium gain on those, and it came through crystal clear. It sounded as good on the stream. In fact, it sounded better on the stream than it did live. You probably wouldn't have heard it, but there was quite a bit of wind. And when you were there live, the wind was kind of impacting the sound a little bit. It didn't care. The sound quality that came through the microphone and then the processing with the amp, it all worked well. And did I mention it runs on 8 AA batteries? It's still at full charge. I used it for like 4 hours. Granted, I used it on eco mode because I was amongst the public and I didn't want to blast anyone away and get kicked out. But yeah, it was plenty for the little gathering that we had there just to playing. If you were playing to a group of, 10, 20, 30 people in a small gathering, the eco mode would work fine. And then I did a quick test. I just popped it onto 50 watt mode, which obviously will chew through the batteries a bit more. And it just went boom. And yeah, I could have turned it around and played for the entire beach. I swear it was super loud, but still crystal clear. No breakup, no distortion, just crystal clear. So yeah, what model is the Cube? So it is it was the Cube. I'll show you if we come over to here. I've got a video about my unboxing. If you search, I reckon if you search Pete John's Cube Street, it's the Street EX is the one that I've got. There it is there. So if you search Pete John's Roland or Cube Street, Roland Cube Street EX, you can take a look at that video. So you can see the first look. And if you go to the happy hour, if you go to this one, you can actually see that one there. So that's me there with the playing with the Roland Cube. And yeah, it just works so well. Worked really, really well. So yeah, do check out that video and check it out. Nick on Dev Gaming, Pete, I have arrived. That's the best entrance I've ever heard. I have arrived. We've arrived for the very end of the show, unfortunately. How am I? I'm beautiful. I'm doing very well, so I do appreciate you. Thank you. And as Jade's saying here, she's just opened up a Clubhouse catch-up room. So if you are on, that's the one final thing I'll say. If you are looking to catch up and to chat all things home recording, mobile recording, music production, just life, the universe and everything, the answer's 42, then you can join Clubhouse. And if you haven't already joined up to Clubhouse, hit up myself or one of the folks over at the Create, Record, Release Facebook group, and you'll be able to catch up with folks there. Tom says I should test out the amp models. I hear the Cube amp models are really good. I do need to do that. I get these things and then I only scratch the surface of them, Tom, because I put them to real use. I don't have the time to kind of do, and that's why I love what Jade and Doug do. Not saying that they have all this time to do other things, but I just want to use it in a real scenario. But as I explore it and as I use it more, yeah, I do want to check out because there's some cool things you can do. You can add the amps models and the sims. You can actually use a pedal, so it's got pedal input so that you can actually turn on and off the different simulations and the different effects that are in the amp. 3-band EQ across both channels, like it just does everything. It was cool. I walked away and it came back and there was a beer there waiting for me. It had gone and got a beer out of the fridge and put it next to me as I was playing. Like, honestly, okay, it doesn't do that. It doesn't bring you beer. Sorry, near those little thing down the bottom of the screen. Note: this device does not actually bring you beer. the opinions of Pete are his own and not of anyone sane. Now, I wanted to mention. I reckon. Let's see if he's actually already going there. He is. So we're going to do a little bit of Inception stuff here because over on my buddy D Nimmon's channel, if you're a YouTuber and especially if you're a mobile creator, D Nimon does a weekly live show around about about this time. I normally don't get to promote him because he's already going, but there he is. He's got a stylish beard and about as much hair as I do. So I think that's why we like it. We're brothers from different mothers, as you can see. Yeah. That's me and D. But yeah, do jump over there. I'm going to paste it right here in the chat now. So if you do want to go and get some cool information, if you're a mobile creator, you're creating video, you've got a YouTube channel, you want to learn from the absolute best from a master of YouTube, then jump over there and check out D. Nimmin. You will not be disappointed. Hello, Jim Shannon. Yes, late as usual. In fact, you're so late, we're just finishing up. So I apologize for that. Thank you, everyone, for being here. As we say at the end of every show, please be kind to yourselves, be kind to others, keep creating, especially in GarageBand, and rock on. Take care, everybody.